Welcome, audience members. You have now entered the Parliament of the Daleks, a Doctor Who fan podcast talking about the history of Doctor Who toys, action figures, and merchandise. Today, we have another news blip for you because we got some pretty exciting stuff that has happened over the past weekend. Alex, would you care to tell us about what happened?
Well, basically, I found a very unique figure online. Well, I say unique, but as we'll get onto, seems to be more than a good few of these now. But when I came across it, I had no idea about it, and it is a 10th Doctor figure, but as something that Doctor Who collectors have wanted for a very long time now, which is updated articulation on the arms. And from what I can tell as well, this particular figure has a new coat sculpt, because this is the trench-coated version of the figure, and it seems to be an upscale from the 3.75-inch version. And also the torso piece seems to be tweaked ever so slightly, in that it has to accommodate the ball-jointed arms, obviously, but also the buttons on the suit seem to be a little more prominent. So yeah, I was incredibly shocked when I found this, because as anyone could imagine, if you find basically what is a completely new figure online, I basically had almost a borderline heart attack and bought it immediately. Because thing is, I didn't even check if there was multiple on sale. When I did check after I'd bought it, there were 2 at the time that were for sale. So I thought, ooh, that was close, because if I'd been a little later, I mean, those 2 could have gone. So I was like, wow, I've literally just bought what could potentially be like, I mean, when I first bought it, I thought it was like one-off, that that'd be it, be sold, and that was the only one. But yeah, since then, of course, yeah, there's been over 30 sold, I think now. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's mind-boggling to think about that this thing has existed. Just looking at the photos right now, this is one weird piece, honestly. I can totally see what you mean with the upscaled 3.75-inch parts. And looking at it, it's actually a very nice looking figure. But it begs the question, is this thing a prototype? Is this an old unreleased figure? Is this a new figure coming out in the B&M line? Or is this thing just a clever bootleg? There's all kinds of variables and factors that have to be accounted for. But this is by far one of the craziest and weirdest things that has ever popped up. And this thing has sparked like wildfire in the Doctor Who community. Everyone is going nuts over this thing. And what's kind of funny is, isn't it true that for the longest time it was an urban legend that there was a 10th Doctor figure with updated articulation? Like, say, back in 2016 or so when they released the 13 Doctor set?
Well, maybe. I don't know. I mean, from what I seem to gather, though, the urban legend really only came from the fact the tuxedo version had been announced, and people thought, oh, they're going to use the arms from that one on like the standard suit figure and make one like that. But I'd never heard anything, especially like a trench coat version, because obviously the arms would have to have been tweaked for that. But obviously, as you can see by this figure, it seems that did happen.
Jack, what's your thoughts on this figure?
I don't know. I'm conflicted. I think it's either a large batch test, which how many? What was the numbers on the Ghost Cyberman? How many of those were made?
I believe roughly it's anywhere from 200 to 250 for all 3 variants, supposedly.
What, all 3 put together, or 250 each?
All 3 put together.
I think it could be part of a batch test then. I really do, because I think it's too suspicious that it's got the swept over hair, even though they seem to like to go with the spiky Series 4 hair that they've got now. It's got the 13 Doctor's sort of colour scheme from that set. It's got the swept over hair that he had in that set. Even down to the wash on the shoes look identical to the wash on the figure that came in the 13 Doctor set.
Yeah, the paint apps on this are basically the exact same as the 13 Doctor set version. The only thing that is different is the coat and arms and torso, as I said. And yeah, I'll add to that. I think Jack is definitely right. I genuinely do think this is probably a batch test, or at least what's most likely. It's because I do think that if they were to release this figure now, and this was like some sort of upcoming release that got leaked or something, that it would have the spiky hair from the 10th Doctor in Tuxedo figure. But obviously this one has the swept over Series 2 hair, which suggests that either they're planning a set from Series 2, or this is a test for the 13 Doctors set that just didn't happen.
I have another conspiracy. Do you both have access to Google right now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you Google images for the 3.75-inch 10th Doctor figure, you'll just pull that up quickly. And maybe this is just me imagining things, but tell me when you've done that.
Okay.
All right.
Right, and it's the one. It'll be the second image, with the white background. So, look at the arms on that. Would you say that his right arm is sticks out more than the left?
Yeah, totally.
Yes.
Right, now look at the second image in the Discord chat. His right arm sticks out more than his left.
It definitely does.
It does a little bit, yes.
So I think it could be the same situation as how the 5-inch 12th Doctor figure was just an upscaled version of the 3.75-inch one with added articulation.
Yes.
I think this is exactly what that is.
I agree. With the exception of the torso piece, though, because the actual design of that torso is the same as the standard 5-inch one, except for the buttons on it. But maybe the internal workings of it, they did upscale as well. It's sort of like the outer design shell is different.
Well, if they have the digital files for it, they can alter it whatever they want, can't they?
Yeah, basically. So yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense in my mind.
Even down to, so if you look at, this is going really specific now. Can you see the wrinkles on its jacket on on the right hand side?
Yeah.
It's got the two sweeping ones, doesn't it? Between his shoulder and the lapel of his jacket, it's got two sweeping wrinkles.
Yeah, yeah.
On the 3.75-inch one, it's exactly the same.
It is. The creasing all matches. It's basically the exact same design.
So I think this is a batch test. That's my, opinion.
Another thing I want to add is on this particular figure, I genuinely think that the torso has been adapted though to fit the tuxedo 10th Doctor head sculpt. Because if you look at it, the collar on the neck, the collar around his neck, it's wider. It like his neck doesn't fill it like it normally does.
Yeah.
And the tuxedo 10th Doctor head is like the neck of that one is a little wider. So I think they have altered that so that a tuxedo head can go on it. So that is something to consider.
So, do you think that means that it's more likely that this is a new figure coming out, or is this something that was planned 5-6 years ago?
Well, given that the 13 Doctor set came out only just before the Tuxedo 10th Doctor, they were probably in development at the same time. So they probably did have the foresight to do that.
Well, yeah, given how long this Abominable Snowmen set has been knocking about, that only sort of adds evidence to the fact that these two were probably made around the same time, the Tuxedo 10 and this.
Yeah, I'm looking at my 13 Doctor's 10th Doctor figure right now, and believe it or not, that one is my favorite 10th Doctor figure Character Options has made to date.
I agree.
But with this one and that added articulation, that might just be the new definitive 10th Doctor figure
Oh, I
that
think
they've
so.
made in
Oh,
all
I
time.
agree. It's my absolute favorite.
I have a controversial opinion. I actually much prefer his sort of swept over hair to his spiky hair.
Agreed.
I agree with that as well, actually. So not so much a hot take, really.
Yeah, not really controversial.
We all
here, but
universally agree.
yes.
Well, I guess that might just be us, because I know all the regular people out there are like, no, spiky hair is better, blah blah blah.
Well, I mean, we did actually mention that in episode 1, didn't we, when we were talking about the 2006 10th Doctor?
I
Oh,
think
I think we
so.
did. Yeah.
Yeah, we all said it was the best, so yeah.
Yeah, this is quite a fascinating figure. Alex, when are you supposed to receive yours?
I'm not quite sure. I've not really checked the dates if I'm being completely honest, but I think somewhere between like say the 16th and 20th of August, roughly. But it might come earlier though. It just depends on how good the shipping is. You never know. And given I was the first person to order one, I suspect I'll be the first to receive it as well.
Mine says the 5th of October. I'm expected by.
Holy cow, really?
Yeah.
Wow, mine says August 19th last I checked, but now I'm worried.
I mean, my figure's been dispatched, so
Yeah, so is mine. Let me tell you. You know what? The shipping dates from China are so all over the place. I order stuff that says it's going to be here, within 2 months. It shows up within, 4 weeks. So let me check. Purchases, dispatched, arriving by Tuesday, the 5th of October.
Yeah, mine says on August 19th, and that it's still sitting in China right now at the moment.
Mine's in the regional distribution center on Dong. I'm not even going to pronounce this. I'll even give it a go, actually.
Yeah, I think that's what mine says, looking at it. I don't...
Dongguan Guangdong. Well, say that 4 times and your furniture starts floating.
Dongguang Gongdong. So, what are your guys' thoughts on the legitimacy of this thing? Do you think this thing is coming out soon, or is this just an old, unreleased figure that could potentially never see the light of day? Jack, we'll start with you.
I think there's a good chance it could be real because it's a very well, the coat doesn't exist in 5-inch scale as far as we're aware. The only version of that coat is in 3.75-inch scale. So if it's a knockoff, it's a very, very high quality knockoff. And well, see, I think the chances of us seeing it out one day it's possible, but then how long has that did that image of the fur coat Troughton sit on the internet before it was released as an official figure?
Would have been 8 years.
But that Tron was a mock-up though. It wasn't like finished like this one is. That's the only thing.
That's true.
Yeah, that one was for the 5 doctors with the paint apps and everything. So, Jack, do you think this thing is going to be in a B&M set?
B&M, I don't know, but I think given that it's got updated tooling, because they would have had to redo, like Alex said, at least some of the torso, I think this could be another possible character options exclusive, whether that's with a Vespiform, Build-A-Figure released with it, maybe even, this is wishful thinking, but if they've managed to secure a budget for the new Who boxes, I'd love to see his maybe. What could they release this with?
Ibzorpalov.
Oh yeah, could you imagine? Is there a variant of his TARDIS that we could get? Maybe you know what would be nice? Christmas Invasion, if they could have it like covered in snow.
That would be pretty neat, actually.
Yeah, and that would work with the hair sculpt as well, actually.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. That would be lovely.
If this thing were to come in a potential standard B&M 3-pack, I would like to see definitely this Tenant figure, probably an Impossible Planet Rose. They could just repaint the hoodie on her. And then, ooh, what would be a third one?
I'd have to go Cyberman, since that hasn't been released.
Yeah, a Cyberman hasn't been released in a while, that's for sure.
Bringing it back all the way around to unreleased figures, you know?
You know what would be interesting? If they invested in a new piece for the Raston warrior robot, they could then reuse the head and paint it all like black with a white wash and release this 10th Doctor, the Raston warrior robot in black, and pretend it's one of the ghosts from Army of Ghosts and release a Cyberman with it.
Oh yeah, that'd be so cool.
That'd be an interesting idea.
And they could give him the ghost gear again. Re-release that.
Yeah, give him his ghost gear. That'd be awesome.
There's a ton of possibilities with this Tenet figure looking at it. And and if they do re-release it, that means we're just going to buy them all over again to get the shirt repaints, the head sculpts differences, one with glasses, one without, one with 3D glasses. It'll be like buying them all over again, but way worth it.
This is why, Wade, I really do think this could be real, because it's a win-win character options. All they've done is upscale a pre-existing mold and add articulation to the arms, and they've got how many costume variants they can re-release all over again and get the people that already own these figures to buy them all over again just so you can move his bicep.
Yeah, I'd definitely buy him again for like the light blue shirt or the brown shirt for Impossible Planet, white shirt. It'd be amazing to get that burgundy shirt he has.
I would love a purple shirt.
And also, you could do blue suit variants, and as I say, they've tweaked it, I think, to fit the tuxedo head sculpt, so you can have the spiky hair on it as well as the fringed hair. And also, my thinking when it comes to it being released, in terms of whether it will or not, I think it definitely will at some point, because character options have tooled this. Like, the tooling has been made, unless if there's some sort of flaw with it that we're not aware of, and that's why it's been rejected or whatever, then the tooling's there, they've spent the money to do it, so to not then use it, I think would be a bit of an unusual decision.
Very true. Plus, with Alduar's cryptic messages on the forum, sort of dodging the question, I think it all lends credence to this possibly being a future release.
Yeah, potentially.
Speaking of Alduar, real quick, remember how this was just probably a few days ago or a week ago when someone asked him what the 5th unreleased figure was back in the 2015-2016 wave? How Alduar said that there was just going to be a regular re-release, but he never said what. Do you guys think it's a possibility that this could be that figure?
I think so. The reason I say that is because probably to Al, something like this probably is counted as a re-release in that, like, it is basically just the 13 Doctor set version again. And I also think it would have fitted that wave due to the fact the Tuxedo 10th Doctor was released in that wave as well and had the updated articulation. So to do both of them at the same time, as I said basically earlier, it would make sense to do it.
Well, it does make sense, seeing as we got two 12th Doctors in that wave as well.
Yeah, it could have been two 12th Doctors and two 10th Doctors planned.
Oh, yeah, that's a fair point because the only monster that technically for that era could have fit would have been the Fisher King, and we all know we never got that figure, unfortunately.
But now Al's confirmed it was not something new, so that's kind of out of the game.
But just thinking real quick, going back to that Tuxedo 10th Doctor figure, is it possible for to take the arms from it and then add it to the regular suited versions without the trench coat, or would that just not work?
It wouldn't work because of the way the So if you took, like, the normal suited 10th Doctor, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, if they were to update the suited 10th Doctor to include articulated arms like that.
No, I tell you what they'd be better off doing would be molding a new shirt piece and jacket for the Tuxedo 10th Doctor, because the torso's already made for that one. Because the way they work is it's sort of like there's an inset sort of groove into the torso to accommodate the ball jointed arms, whereas on the regular 10th Doctor it's just a straight edge, so it wouldn't work. He'd look like he's a football player in American football.
Yeah. The other thing is that the regular suited mold, that jacket sculpt is now really outdated in my opinion. Like it looks really puffy. It doesn't get the sort of skinniness of the suit over. So I feel like people be more welcoming to to buy more of those suited 10th Doctors if they actually made him look really slim and good. But I don't think that the original suited sculpt really works, to be honest. So if they're gonna remake that, then they should go the full hog and just basically, as Jack said, make a new mold and work it onto the tuxedo one.
Now, could they just do a new PVC wrap like they did for, like say
Yeah.
for Capaldi or Matt Smith or anything like that?
Yeah, pretty much.
In fact, I would say it would make more sense. You know how the B&M Talon's Fourth Doctor, he used the Pertwee jacket, and then it was like a small PVC piece that would plug into the neck for the waistcoat and tie. I think it would make more sense for something like that with the using the Tuxedo 10 body, if they made a new jacket and then just a small shirt piece that would plug into the neck.
And the other thing as well is you could do other shirt sculpt variants with that as well. Like eyeless ones with unbuttoned shirts and things like that.
So basically, the moral of this story is if Character Options just slightly updates these figures, we'd buy them all over again.
Absolutely.
Yeah, what can I say? This is one of the weirdest prototyped or unreleased figures that we have ever seen to date. What's even weirder is the fact that there is zero information about this. Typically, we know something like, say, the Ghost Cyberman or the orange hologram 10th Doctor figures or hologram 9th Doctor figures. There are so many different avenues of information that we were able to find about those. But for this, there is virtually nothing. This is by far one of the craziest and weirdest experiences our community has ever had.
Yeah, and it's even weird for me because I, didn't hear it from anyone else. I literally saw it at the source and was like, what the hell is this? I was like, oh my god, is that a real thing? And it's so unexpected because obviously we've not even heard the slightest of rumors about this figure being a thing.
Not a single one. And what's so annoying is we'll just say this. I saw this thing a few days ago before Alex discovered it, and I just thought it was another standard 10th Doctor figure. I thought nothing of it. It was like it just immediately went right over my head, and it just did not click in my brain until Alex messaged and said, "Dude, you gotta check this thing out." And I'm like, "What on earth?" And then it had an epiphany, like, "Oh crap, I know what that is." Like, oh my gosh! But
Then they all sold out, within the span of 2 seconds. And then, me and Wade were up at what, 3 a.m.? For me, it was. I don't know what time it was over there in New
yeah,
Mexico
it was
for you.
3 a.m. for you. And
Yeah,
I told
3
you
a-
they'd come back in stock because this seller, they always get random stuff in at random times and update listings or whatnot. But yeah, this whole thing is like a fever dream, huh?
Yeah, well, I was convinced, I thought that's it now, it'll only be a few and they've already sold out. And then I'm sitting in my room, you know, just about ready to go to sleep. And then I get, my phone starts, buzzing. And I get, Jack, check your phone. And then Wade rings me, calls me. and I'm like, whoa, and I quickly buy one. So yeah, it was a really sort of roller coaster from from thinking I'm never going to get this to owning one.
Yeah, because after those first three, I think it's fair to say that me and basically everyone else thought that was it. It was just those three, and that was it over. So the fact more came back in stock, it's like that was like a real wow moment.
The mystery.
Yeah, now speaking of them coming back more in stock, how do you guys feel about this? You still think it's part of a production batch, or do you think, I'm starting to worry now, like maybe this is for an upcoming figure or something like that, and this isn't a prototype at all or anything like that?
I wouldn't say it's a prototype in that, there's a lot of them. If the seller is legitimately selling this exact figure this many times. Because for all we know, this could be a ridiculous con for all we know.
Yeah.
Um, but if we take it as fact that there are, say, 30 of these, I think, yeah, it could be a batch that ultimately never made it to see the light of day. Or, as I mentioned with the second Doctor and TARDIS set, is it was manufactured in January of this year. So that's a long time before it got released. So, I mean, I don't think the likelihood of that is high that this is the case, but because of the Series 2 head sculpt being on this one. If this is from a future release, that could be a possibility, and these are just straight from the factory that were meant to be in a set, and this Chinese person's got them from the factory, and they're going to be coming to us in, say, 6, 7 months' time.
Is there any rumors of what the Christmas wave is going to be for B&M?
Just the fourth Doctor and K1.
What if it's a fourth Doctor and K1 robot and a 10th Doctor and Vesper form?
Perhaps if B&M somehow missed that set on their codes.
That has technically happened before, but I'm just not sure at this point or at this stage in the game. We are gonna have to wait quite a few weeks until this thing ships and arrives.
And it turns out we all get the original 2006 figure.
Oh, can you
Oh, can you
imagine?
imagine? That would be the worst prank of 2021. Well, I think that just about covers it pretty well. You audience listeners, you're going to have to share your thoughts on what you think this figure is. You think it's a prototype? You think it's an unreleased figure? You think it's fake? Or do you think it's something else? Let us know down in the comments below, and also be sure to follow us on social media like Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Well, thank you guys for joining me on this short discussion. And last but not least, I'd like to thank the audience members for listening to our podcast. If you enjoyed it, be sure to share it with your friends, and also be sure to like and subscribe. This is only the beginning, and we have big things planned. The goal of this podcast series is to cover the history of all Doctor Who figures and toys. And in this case, even weird ones. There's always something new to learn, right? So be sure to stay tuned for more. I'm your host, Wade, and this is the Parliament of the Daleks.
Ooh-wee.
Oh, I guess we don't need the outro anymore.